10,000 subscribers. That is a number I genuinely never expected to see on my channel. For that, I want to thank you guys so much. These past 3 months have been beyond unreal for my channel. So as a small special, I'm going to be doing a good old-fashioned solo run using Paldean Wooper. While its stats are the exact same as a regular Wooper, I'm interested to see if it'll do any better since it's poison ground and has a different level up learn set. Of course, this is also going to be a Q&A, so in between fights, I'll be answering your guys' questions. Alright, let's do this. So unlike Johto Wooper, we have an easy time against Bulbasaur since instead of Water Gun, we have Mud Shot. And the forest isn't any more difficult since we're immune to Weedle's poison stings and Caterpie can't do much damage to us. So let's just skip right on to Brock. Brock starts off with Geodude, and even with its high defense, it's an easy 2-shot. Next is Onix, and it outspeeds us, but it can't really do any damage, so after 3 Mud Shots, we win. I think it's interesting to note that even with a -2 speed drop, we're still slower than Onix. Yeah, if you haven't watched my original Wooper run, this is going to be a common theme throughout the entire playthrough. While I'm traveling to Route 3, I think it's time for the first Q&A segment. I'm going to start with some Pokemon related questions and then move on to, I guess, more personal stuff. So first question, what's your favorite Pokemon generation? Okay, well, I'm either going to sound incredibly based or have a ton of eyes roll, but personally, it's Gen 5. Maybe it's because of some nostalgia, but I really love both Gen 5 games. I think Black and White are still kind of the black sheep of the mainline games, but to me, they felt refreshing, but not alienating, and the sequels are some of the most fleshed out games in the series. What's the most overrated generation in your opinion? You know, I feel like most would probably say Gen 1 since there's a lot of nostalgia, but I'd probably say Gens 4 or 5, which is ironic since they're probably my favorites. But firstly, Platinum single-handedly saved Sinnoh from being unplayable, and as much as I love Gen 5, it's definitely not the second coming of Christ like people seem to make it out to be. What's your favorite music in the games? Okay, I don't know if this is some sort of unpopular opinion, but Route 47 in Heart Gold and Soul Silver is heavenly, and yet I hardly hear people mention it. Like, every time I go through this route, I need to stop and listen to it. Oh yeah, and Gen 2's National Park and Cianwood City themes are also fantastic. What's your favorite bug-type Pokemon? Definitely Scolipede and Volcarona. I also really like Dottler's design for some reason. Oh yeah, and I also used to really like Trash Cloak Wormadam for some reason as a kid. I don't know why. Are you going to do a Wooper marathon of Wooper taking over the world? So this is actually pretty interesting and I like the idea. If you guys actually want to see me solo run every single Pokemon generation with only Wooper, I'm 100% down to do that. Although it sounds like a lot of pain. What's your favorite underrated Pokemon? Actually, related to this question, I've recently been doing some casual playthroughs of Pokemon games while trying to use overlooked Pokemon in teams. So like Corsola in a Gen 2 playthrough for example. I think some overlooked ones that you should definitely use in your next team are Xatu, Octillery, Plusle, Bronzong, Emolga, and Maractus. Alright, that's all the questions for now. Let's skip right on ahead to Rival 2, who I'm really dreading. So if you watched the original Wooper run, you know I had a really bad time with Rival 2, but believe it or not, I actually got a first try win this time. Pidgeotto never used stand attack, so I just took it out, and then Abra and Rattata were also easy, and finally Bulbasaur missed Sleep Powder, and then I got a crit Mud Shot to take it out. Well, that was a pleasant surprise. If Bulbasaur had put me to sleep, I probably would have lost that. After training some more on Nugget Bridge, it's time to fight Misty, and just like Rival 2, you would think that this fight would be a huge brick wall due to my ground typing, but as you can see here, I actually reset for Water Absorb, so I basically can't lose this battle. The most your Pokemon can do is use Swift, and that doesn't do much. Man, this is going way better than I expected. And shortly after, we're at Rival 3, but if you look on the left, we get Sludge Bomb at level 28, so I pretty much swept his entire team. Ivysaur did put me to sleep and got me kind of low, but I doubt he could have taken me out. Well, will Surge be any harder? I mean, surely he can annoy me with Double Team or something, right? Right? Oh my god. Well, I am a ground type, so I guess that wasn't too big of a surprise. But this is going way quicker than I thought it would be. So while I travel to Rock Tunnel, I think it's time to answer some more questions. What's your favorite unknown form? I'm not sure if you mean unknown as in the Pokemon, but if so, probably the question mark form? I don't know, I like the punctuation forms for some reason. What's the best Gen 2 Pokemon, not legendary? Well, since you said not legendary, I sadly can't choose Wooper, so probably like Lantern or Kingdra. Super cool typings. Why did you change your name, and what are your favorite and least favorite Pokemon? For the first question, I've never changed my name besides capitalizing the W in a Woop last December, which I know is oddly specific. As for my favorite Pokemon, well, I think that speaks for itself. Now, as for my least favorite, I don't think I have a specific least favorite, but I can't lie, I try to evolve Tranquil as fast as possible. How do you feel about version-exclusive Pokemon? Well, on one hand, I get that it encourages trading with friends, but just like trade evolutions, I think that they're kind of annoying. But at the same time, version exclusives help distinguish the two games. And if they didn't have them, I think that making two different games would be kind of pointless. What editing software do I use? Right now, I use Sony Vegas Pro 14, which I use just because I've had it lying around for about 2 years. I was gonna start up a different YouTube channel a couple years back, but I never ended up getting around to doing it, so yeah. Will Woop ever evolve into Quag? No. Alright, after a bunch of easy hikers, we're at Erica now, who I'm anticipating to be really hard, even though I'm not 4 times weak. I start with Amnesia, as Victory Bell uses Giga Drain, which does a lot more than I thought it would, so I start using Sludge Bomb right after to 2-shot it. Next is Tankala, so I set up another Amnesia and then 1-shot it. Last is Vileplume, and she misses Sleep Powder not once, but twice, letting me barely win. That was a little too close. Right after that is the Rocket Hideout, but it's easy as always, so let's just skip to Giovanni, who was mostly easy as I taught Wooper Water Pulse to one-shot his Onix and Rhyhorn. And then his Kangaskhan managed to deal quite a lot of damage to me before I took it out. Alright, these battles are getting kinda close. A little too close. But even closer is Rival 4, which was to my surprise. Pidgeotto was an easy one-shot, but then Kadabra disabled Sludge Bomb, so I had to use Mudshot. However, this meant that I couldn't hurt Gyarados, letting him spam Thrash several times before I was able to take him out. Fourth is Growlithe, but thankfully I outsped and took him out with a Water Pulse. But now we have Ivysaur, and with just 12 HP, I'm scared. I did set up 3 Amnesias before, but his Razor Leaf does 6 HP. I go for Sludge Bomb one last time, and he decides to instead go for Vine Whip. Not, you know, the winning move. Oh my god, I'm amazed. Not just because I won, but I won solely because he randomly decided to not go for the finishing blow. I forgot how weird the Gen 3 AI is sometimes. Alright, well after that mini heart attack, I think it's time to answer the next batch of questions. Where were you when Jonesy released his infamous Vaporeon copy pasta 4 years ago? It was a day that shall live in infamy in the Pokemon community. Well, I'm not exactly sure where I was when that copy pasta was posted, but what I do know is that in terms of human companionship, Vaporeon is the most compatible Pokemon, and that's a scientific fact. What's your nationality, and what's your favorite gimmick in Pokemon? So, I'm half Korean and half Hmong, but as far as lessons for either of those languages, you're gonna have to look elsewhere because I don't know either of them. I know, it's sad. As for my favorite gimmick, while I like Terrestrialization in the new games as it gives every Pokemon an indirect buff, I really like Mega Evolutions as they gave direct buffs to some underappreciated Pokemon, and I hope to make a return someday. How old are you? I'll be turning 19 in November, so yay! A little fun fact about that though, since I was born towards the end of the year and I started school early, I was like always the youngest in my class. And even now in college, I still mostly am, so it's always been kind of awkward. What are your thoughts on the cheaters getting caught in Worlds, and what's your favorite shiny? I remember seeing an article about the drama, and honestly, I don't really have a strong stance on it. On one hand, getting competitively viable Pokemon, especially without the national dex nowadays, is a massive chore. But on the other hand, I can see how some might equate it to using steroids during the Olympics, as there are some people who do put in the months to obtain these Pokemon legitimately. But what I will say is that Game Freak actively making it even more tedious to get the best competitive Pokemon while also enforcing strict bans on Gen Pokemon is kind of counterintuitive. As for my favorite shiny Pokemon, I'm not really knowledgeable about shinies, and I don't know what most of them look like, but I really like shiny Ponyta, Mareep, and Umbreon. Alright, that's the rest for now. Let's fast forward to Koga. So Koga is interesting. I was worried that his first coughing would just use self-destruct, but he surprisingly didn't, so we're at Muck with almost full HP. He uses Minimize, and we thankfully hit with Earthquake to one-shot. Third is his second coughing, and we get a crit to take him out, and now we just have Wheezing. But Surf is only doing about a quarter, and while his tackles aren't doing a ton, they add up when our accuracy is lowered and he has 2 Hyper Potions. So for the first time this entire run, we lose. But I think we could still win at level 46 with a few tweaks. For my second try, I equip a citrus berry, which should allow me to take a few more hits. I take out coughing number 1 with ease, and this time Muck decides to use acid armor first turn instead, but it doesn't really matter, and then coughing number 2 goes down with 2 serves. So we're at Wheezing with 105 HP. His tackles are doing about 15 HP, so with the citrus berry that means that I can survive 9 tackles. This time though, my luck is great, and even with an accuracy drop, I only missed once, letting me barely win the fight. If he had crit or I missed once, I would have lost again. It feels like Wooper is starting to fall behind a lot now. Makes me a little worried. Anyway, next is Silph-Co, and this part is going to be pretty annoying since there are a lot of trainers, and while they're all optional, I'm going to need to fight them all since there's no way I'm beating Sabrina at this low of a level. But first, I want to try Rival 5. He shouldn't be too bad, right? Well, that didn't go so well. Okay, it's fine, I have a plan. Okay, so I've been keeping several Meowths on my team which all have the ability Pickup. One of the items you can get is the TM for Hidden Power, and at the start of this run, I edited my Wooper to have Hidden Power Electric. This is going to be crucial to winning this run at all. So what I'm going to do is just grind a ton until I get the TM, and because Pickup has the chance to pick up other items, this will also let me get some PP ups and rare candies. After about 5 years, I finally got Hidden Power, so we're back. And we have a problem. I can't one-shot Gyarados with Hidden Power. And keep in mind that I used PK Hex to give Wooper the strongest Hidden Power. Yeah, remember 25 special attack? It's time to grind. I come back at level 57, this time holding the leftovers. I get insanely lucky with Sludge Bomb as I poison Pidgeot, so I actually take it out in one turn. Next is Alakazam, but of course I one-shot it, and now we're at the dreaded Gyarados. I go for Hidden Power, and to my surprise, it still doesn't one-shot. That means I lose 40 more HP from Dragon Rage before taking it out. Fifth is Growlithe, so my attack is lowered again, so for Venusaur, I'm dealing half damage, and I'm low. His Razor Leaves are doing quite a lot, as Earthquake does less than half, and then by some incredible stroke of luck, he misses Sleep Powder twice in a row, barely letting me win. You know, I'm not even gonna complain about that. I am not retrying this another 10 more times. And immediately after that, we have the second Giovanni fight, but he was really easy. Still, I wouldn't call it a sweep, since we were slower than his entire team, despite being 20 levels higher. Yeah, Wooper's speed is a joke. But now we have the fight I've been worried about this entire run, Sabrina. And obviously, I'm not winning at level 59. I mean, how in the world am I supposed to beat 3 fast psychic types with my terrible speed and special defense? Well, I ended up actually sweeping her team, all because her Kadabra never bothered to actually attack, instead spamming Future Sight and Calm Mind, letting me set up 3 Amnesias. Well, that was pretty disappointing. Well, I guess I'm glad that I didn't have to grind a ton for Sabrina, but at the same time, that was pretty underwhelming, so I think it's time to answer the last batch of questions. Why do you do Pokemon content? Was that the original plan? So funnily, I actually briefly mentioned this in my very first video, which by the way is literal NyQuil. I used to have another channel a couple years ago which I might reveal in the future, but the videos were really terrible, and I also privated them all. Last November, however, I had the spontaneous thought of, you know, I've seen people doing Pokemon solo runs, so why don't I try making videos on them? And again, I also had Sony Vegas on my computer just collecting dust, so I figured it was worth a shot. And well, it was probably one of the greatest decisions I've made. It really goes to show that a lot of times, the most impulsive yet ambitious ideas are the best ones. If there's something that you really want to achieve and you have this unrelenting urge to crush it, you should definitely at least try it. What inspired your liminal style of video editing? So this one's pretty cool since it goes all the way back to March. I wrote the script for the first Forgotten Moves video back then, and I never got around to actually making it until June, which is when I kind of visualized the style that I wanted it to be in. A big inspiration for making these fact-related videos was Blue Boy Finn, who apparently a lot of you also watch. I don't think the tone of my videos is the exact same, but I really found his storytelling and narration to be endearing. I've also gotten a lot of Nexpo comparisons, which may have subconsciously crept in, but the whole VHS/liminal style was something that gradually latched onto me. What's your favorite memory? There are a lot of fond memories I have, but in recent times, the most memorable was probably back in December when I had my first video get some attention, being my first 6 encounters video. I remember waking up and my sub count shooting up to over 100 in a single day when I only had 9 the previous day, and I mean, it was just such a crazy feeling. I think that was really the point for me where I realized, okay, this could actually be a thing. People actually care about my content. What's your favorite video you've made so far? This one obviously changes as time goes on, but right now, probably the original Forgotten Moves video. It was a huge tonal shift for my channel, going from challenge videos to, well, whatever style of videos I've been doing lately. And because of that, it was definitely the most fun I've had making a video since it was so refreshing. What content do you wish you could make but might get low views? So this one's a bit tricky since my content has mostly been homogeneous throughout my 10 months here, but I guess other Pokemon content besides the topic videos that have recently been getting a lot of attention, which I guess that's what this video is for. I'm interested to see if people still care about challenge videos because I really like making them. So if you do want to see more of this content, you can let me know in the comments. And of course, for the last question, the most important one, because of the quack quack. And that's all of the questions. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who asked. However, while I am done with all of the questions, we are nowhere near done with this challenge because this last stretch is going to be rough. So, believe it or not, Blaine was really close. Because of my terrible special defense, I need to set up 2 Amnesias on Growlithe and then I can freely take out his first 3 members easily. But by the time I get to Arcanine, my attack is halved and I'm low. His takedown does more than half of my remaining health as Earthquake breaks him to red, which is actually great as this forces him to heal, which in turn lets me heal with leftovers, and eventually taking him out. It's funny how a Poison Ground type had a harder time against the Fire Gym than the Psychic Gym. Finally, we have the last Giovanni fight, but believe it or not, we lost. You see, besides his 2 Rhyhorns, his entire team outspeeds me and they all have Earthquake, so I went down quickly. Well, there's not anything I can do besides grinding, so I guess it's time for that again. I come back at level 71 and I tried a couple of times with the leftovers, but I wasn't getting anywhere, so I equipped the Quick Claw instead. I needed to activate on either Nidoking, Dugtrio, or Nidoqueen. Thankfully, I get lucky and I outspeed Dugtrio, so by the time I get to his last Rhyhorn, I'm at 14 HP. You know, I haven't lost much of this run, but almost every win has been cutting it extremely close. This has me worried for the Elite Four. For the Elite Four though, we have to fight Rival 6. I had to reset a bunch because his Pidgeot loves to start with Feather Dance, which is basically an auto loss. Eventually, I got a run where he didn't use it, so I made it to Alakazam with 0 attack drops, and he miraculously went for Calm Mind instead of Psychic, which definitely would have finished me. Third is Growlithe, who is also a one-shot, and now we have Gyarados. And here's where I made a huge discovery. The AI doesn't seem to detect Water Absorb as an immunity. He used it twice, although it conveniently missed both times, so I didn't get the healing. However, because of him wasting time, I was able to take out Venusaur without too much trouble and win the fight. After crawling our way out of a scary victory road, here are our final stats. I was more careful this time around with the EV spread, so this distribution is pretty ideal. Well, you know, if they were actually good. Our highest stat is just 124 at level 75. Oh, well, here goes nothing. First is Lorelei, and this was really scary. I of course start off by setting up 3 Amnesias as Dugong lands weak Ice Beams. She manages to freeze me, but I luckily defrosted the same turn, so it didn't matter. Second is Cloyster, and her only attacking move is Dive, so after some annoying stalling on her end, I took it out. Third is Slowbro, and for the first time in a while, I actually outsped something. She just used Amnesia though, so I took her out. Fourth is Jinx, and I got scared when she put me to sleep and then started spamming Ice Punch after Ice Punch. I woke up a few turns later though and one-shot her with Earthquake. Last is Lapras, and I decided to go for Sludge Bomb for the poison chance, and I got it first turn. And conveniently, she had just enough HP to not let the Citrus Berry activate, so one more Earthquake won me the battle. Second is Bruno, and this doesn't go well at all. Believe it or not, our biggest problem here isn't his Machamp, it's his 2 Onixes. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they outspeed, and their Earthquakes actually do a lot of damage to me, so I need the Quick Claw to win this. As you can see here, I get a really lucky fight where I outspeed 1 Onix and have Hitmonlee miss Mega Kick, but unfortunately at the very end I lose because I don't one-shot Hitmonchan and he uses Counter. So my only choice here is to grind some more. I come back at level 79, and of course I have to do the usual of outspeeding at least 1 Onix. Again, I get lucky and Hitmonlee misses Mega Kick, so I one-shot it. Machamp then misses a Cross Chop as Earthquake does noticeably more, so 1 more Earthquake takes it out. Last is Hitmonchan, so I decide to use Hidden Power thinking that he'd use Counter, which he does, and it still works. Well, that was weird. I'm not sure why Hidden Power wasn't detected as a special move. Either way, I still won. Third is Agatha, but this isn't even close. My only decent attack here is Ice Beam, which doesn't even do half to her first Gengar, and she loves to spam Double Team and Confuse Ray. Well, I still have some money, and there is one solution I can think of. So after multiple failed attempts to reach Agatha again, I'm back, but this time with something I should have prepared a lot earlier, Iron Tail. Yes, it's incredibly inaccurate, but this is the only way I can see myself winning without grinding a ton. But as you see here, it's still incredibly difficult. Gengar loves confusing me, and I can easily lose if I hit myself too many times. If Haunter uses Curse, which it does a lot, I automatically lose. If her second Gengar puts me to sleep, I can also lose because of Dream Eater. And also Shadow Ball still does a lot despite it being physical. After tons of tries though, I finally got this battle where I got the luck I needed. But does this even matter? Can I even beat Lance at this low of a level? Well, unfortunately, the answer is no. In an ideal situation, we need Gyarados to not use any Dragon Rages while we set up Amnesia. Problem is, all of his Pokemon are 2-shots. What you're looking at here is my best attempt out of probably 20. If Gyarados hits too many Dragon Rages, I'm too low to get past Dragonite. Even if I have good health though, his Hyper Beam just destroys me. Well, the Meowths I had earlier picked up a few rare candies, so I'm gonna use 6 just to see if that helps. Okay, next try. I get in 2 Amnesias at the start without taking too much damage, but then Gyarados starts using Dragon Rage, so I'm at 130 HP for Aerodactyl. He gets in a Wing Attack, but I get a lucky crit to one-shot it. Third is Dragonite, and he actually uses Wing Attack this time, which is not good. However, I miraculously freeze him, and the next turn here you can see me use Earthquake, which is not a misclick actually, and was just me taking a gamble to restore some more health with the leftovers. He doesn't defrost, so now I'm at the 2 Dragonairs. Thankfully, the first one just uses Safeguard, so I one-shot it with Ice Beam, and now I'm at his second one. And at this point, I'm pretty confident I can take even a Hyper Beam from his last Dragonair. He goes for Outrage, which barely does anything, and I get the win. The amount of luck I've had this entire run is crazy. But unfortunately, this champion fight isn't happening at level 87. With the Quick Claw, I made it all the way to Rhydon, but even with its low special defense, it doesn't go down to 1 Ice Beam. And then he just takes me out with Earthquake. Alright, level 90 it is. Okay, I used my remaining rare candies, so let's see how this goes. Pidgeot surprisingly doesn't go for Feather Dance or Sand Attack, and I get a crit Ice Beam to one-shot, which even at this level was still needed. Then Alakazam sets up Reflect, as Earthquake does about 3/4 of his health. He heals, and he makes the genius play of using Future Sight the next turn instead of nailing me with Psychic. So now we're at Rhydon. I go for Ice Beam, and not only do I get a Quick Claw activation, but I get a high damage roll letting me one-shot it. Yeah, even at level 90, Rhydon is still a range. Remember, this thing has 45 special defense, and I still can't one-shot it. Fourth is Gyarados, but he's by far the least threatening. In fact, he actually helped since he used Hydro Pump to heal me a bit. Fifth is Arcanine, and his extreme speeds are doing a lot less than I thought they would, and even with the attack drop, Earthquake still does a lot. I take him out, and last is Venusaur. Thankfully, he goes for the horrible play of using Growth first turn as I deal half his health with Ice Beam. But my heart sank as I remember that he has a Citrus Berry, so now Ice Beam can't take him out. Well, I have no choice. In a last-ditch effort, I go for one more Ice Beam hoping for a crit, and somehow I do just enough to finish him. Assuming the best case scenario that he had 60% HP, a special defense lowering nature, and 31 special defense IVs and 0 EVs, that was a 6.3% chance of happening. That has to be one of the luckiest fights I've ever had. And that's it. I beat Pokemon FireRed with a single Paldean Wooper. That was a lot of fun. Seeing how different Paldean Wooper is from its Johto form was really interesting and led to some different interactions. I do think that had I not edited Wooper for the perfect hidden power IVs and given it Water Absorb, this would probably be near impossible, since we're weak to water here. Honestly, I don't even think I would have made it past Lorelei. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, even if a lot of you haven't seen my old challenge runs or just don't care about it. I really liked revisiting this content style, especially as a 10k sub special. So if you want to see more content like this, make sure to let me know in the comments. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone for subscribing and supporting the channel lately, and an extra thanks to the people who submitted questions, as well as my 2 patrons. It really means the world to me. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.